What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the eCommerce Influence Podcast. My name's Austin Brawner, and I am excited to bring you an episode, a solo cast, about something I'm passionate about. And I'm passionate about building a business that is smooth, a business that doesn't have a lot of crazy fires that are to be put out all the time, that really can move and operate by itself. And so today, I'm going to share my experience using the EOS operating system from the book Traction. We implemented that about 1 year ago. December of 2019. We were kind of evaluating options and where we are in the business. And I'd used a couple of different operating systems in the past, and I want to try something new. I'd heard about Traction, and I thought it might be worth diving into this thing. So we dove in headfirst. It's been about a year. We had our second annual review, and that one went way more smoothly than the first one. And I want to share my experience, what I learned over that first year, because so many of my clients have either talked about using Traction or they've attempted it and maybe had some limited level of success, or they've heard about it. Or maybe you're just running a business and you feel like there's a better way to run it, where there's more coordination, more of a system. So in this episode, I'm going to walk through the pros and the cons that I discovered over the last year. I'm going to share who I think it works well for and who I think it's not a good fit for. And also I'll share some other resources that we've used to supplement it, because as you'll hear in the podcast, I don't think it is a fix-all, cure-all for every business, but it has a lot of positive things that you can take away. So let's dive in. And I'll tell you a little bit of the story. I think where we were at in December of 2019 is we'd been growing pretty quickly, and we had our own process. We were running like a sprint process. What that means is we'd been basically shipping things over a two-week period, looking at them, doing a retrospective, and then doing another sprint. The Scrum methodology, that'd been kind of where we were at. And I think where we were really good at executing, but we didn't have a bigger, clearer vision of where we're going. And we did well in 2-week increments. We even did pretty well in 90-day increments, but past that, we were struggling a little bit. So decided to implement Traction. We said, all right, let's dive into it. And we did our first annual review in January of 2020, an annual planning session. So what that looked like is we sat down and we created a 10-year vision, a 3-year vision, a 1-year plan, and a 90-day plan, like a 90-day commitment, I guess is what it was, which is all part of the Traction, the EOS operating system. We also went through our core values. We filled out our marketing strategy and went through the whole process. So after we got through this, like I said, it's been about a year, and we sat down and did our annual review for the second time, and it went way smoother. And I think my big takeaways from this, if you're thinking about it, my big pros from using this process, and I'll talk about some of the challenges. It's a simple process. And if you are in a position where you're struggling to have to be strategic, anyone can do it. You just follow along and you will get benefits, even if it's not the perfect system for you. So I really like that about the system. It's simple. Anybody can use it. I think one of the things that's best about Traction, the Traction process or the EOS process, is this idea of a scorecard or a company dashboard. We call it a company dashboard, but we've taken it from them, and we have numbers and metrics that we look at on a weekly basis. When I look back over the last year, what's been the most helpful and the thing that's allowed us to continue to move as a smooth business, I think I really resonate with the saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I think it's a Navy SEAL saying. That to me is, especially in a business an online business, an e-commerce business, you want to be putting pressure over time. You want to have a business that is smooth and is growing in a way that is sustainable. And those scorecards are really, really helpful. So we sat down, we found about I think we ended up with about 15 metrics that we look at on a weekly basis. I'm trying to narrow that down even more. But that has been very helpful. We update them on a weekly basis in a Google Sheet. And I would say of all the things, that's probably the best thing we did. Other things that are effective, 90-day quarters with rocks are really helpful. If you're not doing this, I highly recommend it and highly recommend implementing this, where the biggest struggle that I see working with my clients is that it's very easy as an entrepreneur to get a lot of shiny objects or get excited about the things you're seeing other businesses do. And what this 90-day plan and commitment forces is for you to really commit to something strategic and to move that forward over 90 days. If you get excited about a lot of shiny objects and different marketing ideas, this forces you to put them on a list and reassess them at the end of the quarter if you want to dive into them. And that can be really, really helpful. I love the accountability chart. I think this is something that's very, very helpful, especially for a business growing quickly with maybe anywhere from 3 to 10 employees, even larger. But if you're at least 3 employees, the accountability chart is incredibly powerful. It helps you break down your business and assign people to specific seats in the business. I found that to be, this last year, one of the things that's been most helpful for us is when we made the most changes in the business. So when we took the time to do our accountability chart and we realized we have a lot of overlap. I'm in more seats than I should be, and I need to move out, and we need to reassign people into the seats that make the most sense for them. That made hiring a lot easier for us because we got clear about who we were supposed to hire. And I highly, highly recommend that. Other things that are interesting that worked well, I think that 10-year, 3-year, and 1-year plan, while I have some criticisms of the vision system that they use, that is helpful for even if you don't know what 10 years is going to look like, to be able to be forced to sit down and answer that question. That helps bring the company together, and it helps create some kind of cohesion that you guys can rally around about where you're going. Often that gets stuck in the founder's head, and to be forced to put it onto paper, that's really, really helpful. The last thing I'll say about the pros, the feedback system is really good. So at the end of every meeting, you are supposed to rate it 1 to 10 and give some feedback. I think that's a really effective exercise that's helped us improve our meetings. And at our annual meeting, one of the exercises that I thought was the most helpful and effective was the direct feedback exercise they recommend, which is to sit down with your leadership team and share their most admirable quality. So everybody shares with each other their most admirable quality of the other person, as well as the thing that's going to hold the business back because it's their quality that is detrimental to the business. And then everybody commits to making one change over the year. That was really helpful. Everybody went around and shared. The thing that came up for me that was shared with me was I am a good leader and do a good job of including people in the vision, but sometimes I don't communicate well enough about when I'm feeling overwhelmed or have too much on my plate, and that can lead to the team not knowing that things are going to get dropped when other people can pick things up. So that's something I'm trying to work on this year. I would never have known that without the direct feedback from this exercise. So that's really good. Let's get to the cons. I think it could feel a little bit stiff. So if you go through their process, the meetings can be a little bit just stiff. You got to spice them up a little bit, especially this goes to my broader criticism of it. I think that the vision and culture side of the traction process is kind of lacking, and you have to create your own culture and your own like fun in the business to to make it your own, right? If you just follow their idea of what culture is, it's kind of boring. So we've changed that up quite a bit. I don't think it's that helpful for your marketing strategy. There are so many other things that'll help you with marketing. This is more of a understand your numbers on a week-to-week basis system. Get everybody rallied around a consistent, singular goal type system, and that's very helpful for that. But it's not very helpful with marketing, even though they talk about that a lot in the book. I don't think it helps you launch products very well. So communication is not really discussed outside of a single, like all hands leadership meeting once a week. And put it in perspective, if you're trying to launch a website or a new product, there are lots of details that go into that. And meeting once a week is a little bit unrealistic. So what we've done is we have taken this process, which works well for us, and we also have implemented use our sprint process, our Scrum methodology, to ship products, where we get really clear about a big project. We write out all the details, put it into a backlog, and then we work hard on it for like 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks and ship the product. I think that's a good thing to pair with this. And if you're a member of the coalition, you'll see our whole breakdown of how to do the sprint process and how you can put those things together. I think I mentioned this, but the vision is lacking and the values are lacking. So, and this is a little bit combined with the culture side of things. If you're just meeting I think what's happened is the book has been written for people going into the office every day. If you have a remote company, you have to create culture and create touch points outside of that. So we have calls on Mondays and Fridays where we talk about, what everyone was doing for the weekend, share some good news. On Monday, we talk about the upcoming week, anything that people need to know so they kind of get connected. And on Friday, everybody gives a team member shout out and they share their big win on our call. And then we review the numbers, for the traction numbers, like the company dashboard I was talking about. And then we share what's going on for the weekend. And there's still more to be done on the culture side of things, but that's not included in the traction process. And it's very necessary, right? Just showing up once a week for a call would probably be challenging. Who's it for? I think this works really well for businesses that are moving from the solopreneur contractor phase to I have a team phase. And if you've got maybe 3 people on the team that you would consider your leadership team, that's a great place to start. 3 full-time employees that are really solid on your team. It's a great thing to implement. I think it works well for that. A lot of this has been pulled from something I've used in the past, which is the Gazelle system from Vern Harnish. And this is if you take the Gazelle's Rockefeller Habits book and you dumb it down, that's what traction is. I think he even talks about how he pulled a lot of it from this. And there's a reason that this stuff is so popular and it's similar because it works really well. But I would say that's the sweet spot. Maybe 3 to 6 people on your leadership team would be where I'd recommend diving into this. Who is it not for? I don't think it works very well if you are a solopreneur. I think it requires having at least one other person you can bounce ideas off of and work through things. So if you are a solopreneur, I would still recommend basically creating that, maybe doing this with a partner and doing this with somebody in your mastermind, because that's definitely something that you need. I think it works. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're an agency, I think there are things that work really well here. The communication will probably break down for you. If you are an e-commerce business owner and you're shipping a lot of products, that's where you're gonna have to develop your own communication system and your own task management system. But overall, The things we took away also on this second annual planning 2-day period, things that I think work really well. We took 2 full days off, which is their system. Then I took a full another almost 2 days to prepare for it. I wrote an annual review where I really analyzed how the business had been growing and changing over the last year to prepare. Everybody prepared with their a vision that they put together so that we're all on the same page. Everybody wrote out their vision of where they want to go in 1 year, and that made it a lot easier. Also, just starting way earlier in the day and keeping things short is something that I find really helpful. So that's my review. I think it's a good system. If you don't have a system for running your business, I highly recommend giving it a try. And I also recommend signing up for the coalition and getting help, because we talk more about how to use, if you're struggling to manage your business and feel like you're growing but don't have a handle on it, there are a ton of tools in there that'll complement Traction. But it's a great place to start. Just read the book. That's probably the best place to start. And I'd love to hear from you guys on Twitter. Are you using Traction? If so, how's it going for you? What do you think about it? I'll post a couple tweets about this, and find me on Twitter. Would love. It's @_abron. Right. And all right, it's at @a_Bron. Hope you guys like this. If you like this episode, check me out on Twitter, or write a review. Would love to get some reviews if you've been listening to this for a while. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode.